capes and conundrums. "This is so much fun! I didn't think that something like this was around here before," Megala says, and her mother laughs. "Last time we were here, you were so small that chasing the family Puris was the most excitement you'd get in a day, Megala." "Mom," Megala protests as Echo Song giggles. "Daughter," she says back in amusement as they climb in through the window of the building that the clue they had frisked from those very fetching men had on them. If she wasn't a married woman, then she'd be looking to cure that with these men. They were clearly both dedicated and fun-loving, with all the shame of an exhibitionist, but the self-control you need from a soldier. A pity her little Megala is still a little too young to do more than occasionally have a wandering hand or find herself staring. The sort of thing you chide someone for, or at worst give them a swat or two to get them to stop. Although, at this rate, between the sheer amount of chest shown by Maxi Zeus and how tight the suit on Firefly was, she might start developing a little early in the interest category. "So, what is your name, ma'am? Did that mighty Zeus say it right when he called you Nyx?" Echosong asks, and the huntress perks up a little before letting out a bit of a laugh. Oh, this must have been awkward. Oh no, my name is Megala as well. It's tradition in my family that the 10th daughter is always named Megala. Little Megala here is my 10th born, and I am 10th born to my own mother, who was 9th born. So, Megala and Megala, how does that? Call me Patience. It's the family name after all. Huntsmistress Megala Patience, and my adorable daughter Huntress, in training Megala Patience. And granddaughter of Huntsmistress Megala Patience, right? Actually, Mother's a botanist. When all three of us are in a room, she's Dr. Megala. Really? Yes. Patience responds with a very amused tone. Now, if you get my great-aunt in the room, then Huntsmistress Megala will get more than one answer. Much like Huntress in training, Megala will get my adorable little girl, and at least 3 cousins. Family reunions must be a lot of fun, Echo Song states as she tries to make sense of the strange acoustics of this place. There's no echo despite the fact there should be. Furthermore, there's utter darkness and no source of light. But the light should be moving past certain areas. Something's going on. What, though? She's not sure. The Megala table at the gathering is always full of the funniest and most confusing conversations. Megala says, and Echosong laughs. Megala then smiles at a memory. Mom, was it Megala or Megala that was telling Megala that last time she saw Megala, she was in a fight with Megala, and it was such a relief to see her and Megala had made up? Yes it was. Now back to the game at hand. We're looking for a Raz Al Ghul, some kind of immortal mad eco-terrorist that wishes to crash economies, destroy cities, and leave the nature of the world pristine. Patience notes. Wrong world for that. If we let that happen, then Skathak gets set on fire again and again. Echo Song notes. Also, hang on. I have the booklet here. Right. The resurrection method he uses has been slowly driving him insane. Insane little creature. How very base and untoward to use such childish insults. A refined voice with a slight accent states clearly. Speakers. He could be anywhere between here and Centris. Patience warns. Indeed, I can miss. Patience, was it? I expected the detective. I am torn between concern and relief that the rest of the sleeping masses upon this wretched and ruined world are beginning to awaken. Tell me, will you use your awareness and strength to save the world, or doom it? Skathak isn't a world that needs saving. It needs saving from, Megala states in an incredulous tone. Seriously, old man, haven't you been outside? It's a roasty 980 degrees outside the thermal shields, and it's the cooler part of the year, Echo Song exclaims. I am certain that the world will cool when... What craziness are you up to this time, Raz? Are you sure you don't need a retirement home? Patience mocks him and there's a silence. I am certain that they even have diapers your size now, so you don't even have to figure out where the bathroom is. Megala, that's too far. Incontinence is nothing to joke about, unless it's funny. Patience chides her before laughing. Mercenary, get in there. Roz states coldly. Suddenly the darkness is pulled away, revealing the warehouse they're in to be full of machinery, and the trick they used to disguise this to be sound-absorbing curtains that blended perfectly in the darkness. They're surrounded. Dozens of men in black outfits and only their eyes exposed, glaring down. But most importantly are two. One, an older-looking man with a pointed hairstyle, gray streaks in his beard, and a high-collared green cape on. The other, a very large and powerfully built man in black and gray armor with a half-orange face mask. He looks like he walked right out of the Teen Titans cartoon. Decisions, decisions, Deathstroke states. I am not paying you to dither. Attack! Ra's al Ghul orders, and Deathstroke moves. His open palm slams into Patience's stomach and sends her skidding backwards even as her foot claws dig into the concrete below. She leaves 4-foot-long trenches and staggers back a step to regain her footing. She deflects his left jab, blocks the right cross, and then takes a brutal kick to the side of the knee and is sent sprawling. However, she still has more limbs to play, and her knife hand slams into the sides of his stomach in a powerful cross chop. She gets an impression of far more organs in there than most life, and she knows she hit at least one of them painfully. His answer is a snap kick that takes her in the stomach and sends her staggering. Meanwhile, Megala and Echo Song are set upon by the ninja horde with a single wordless command from Raz. Echo Song responds by letting out a sonic scream infused with axiom that batters back at least 3 of them and send them sprawling in mid-air to crash into the machinery uselessly. Megala, on the other hand, jumps back at them, and with axiom-infused hands, counters their swords and, after a bit of fumbling, grabs them by the shirt and tries to land on a pipe. She slips and begins to slide backwards, but she wraps her tail around it and firms her footing so they turn on the pipe instead and simply fall off, leaving her hanging upside down with a ninja in each pair of arms. She gives them both a few shakes before bonking them together and then dropping them before shifting and skittering to the top of the pipe instead. She's then met by a pair of ninjas to either side. She takes a stance that allows both of them access to her sides and uses axiom to expand her field of vision. Fighting off 2 people at once will be tricky, but with her 4 arms and tail, they've got a grand total of 1 limb on her. Hopefully, it won't make that much difference. Patience, meanwhile, is having a blast. Deathstroke. Or is he Slade when he's more Teen Titans style? Anyways, Mr. Wilson is all sorts of fun. Sure, she has a few limbs on him. The tail nearly gets him as she sweeps for the legs or stabs with the blade, but he downright slithers out of the way of that, showing that he's as flexible as he's physically strong and... Tell me, Mr. Wilson, do you offer lessons? Patience asks. Oh? Slade asks. Nothing grand in his tone, as he deflects 2 attacks and shifts to the side to try and get her with an elbow. Unfortunately, there's a distinct lack of organs in the place he hits her, and he'd have had more impact if he slammed into her thigh instead. Oh yes, I'm a married woman, but if I could get my husband to move like you do? He's not much of a fighter, you're see. A brawl before bed to spice up the marital life? Slade asks in a scornful tone. Something like that. A poet can make a woman melt with words alone, but there's something to be said if he can scoop her up afterwards to carry her to bed. Patience says, and there's a scoff from under the mask. Okay, that needs to come off. She insists, making a grab for the mask. It's latched on though, and it's not coming off. She gets a flurry of body shots as she tries to grab at the helmet, and then as she lunges for it again, she's instead grabbed and the flip is turned into a hammer throw that sends her hurtling through the factory. She aborts the flight by twisting in the air and grabbing the underside of a walkway and stopping her flight. She paces along the underside of the walkway, easily keeping grip as she keeps track of Slade, who throws down a smoke bomb, and she senses movement behind her. Her tail lashes out, but something binds it, and she decides to go all out. The metal of the walkway bends and cracks under her sheer strength as she bursts through the underside of it to attack Slade, only to find his solid boot slamming into the top of her head with enough force to break her grip, break the line he tied her with, and break the pipe underneath them clean through. Oh! Oh wow, you're good. Of course I am. Slade begins even as the walkway he's standing on creaks and groans. It then snaps under his feet, and he falls. He falls in perfect control, as he angles himself to avoid the edges of the pipe, and he lands in a crouch right in front of Patience. Deathstroke, the Terminator. I think this is a bit much for most contestants. You're a bit much for mere level 4. We have you on record fighting lava serpents without protective gear and with only the most basic weapons. You can handle it, big girl. Deathstroke. The Terminator states, "Now then, shall we?" Her response is a lightning-fast charge that phases right through him. She skids to a stop and turns. Red runes are glowing over his armor with a jagged mark over his forehead. "Really?" Patience asks. "Really?" Deathstroke says before gesturing, and half the equipment in the factory hurls itself at her. The huntsmistress laughs in glee at the challenge. While her mother was having her fun, Megala was having some of her own. She had managed to swipe a quartet of swords from the ninja, and wasn't so much as using them as flailing them around in their vague directions as she swung from her tail. On the walkway above, a ninja finally gets up there and dislodges her tail, causing her to start to fall, but Echosong swoops in, grabs her, and helps her stick the landing even as she sweeps with her axiom-infused voice. Between the blades, the fury and the scream, the ninja fall back, and one of them is dramatically killed by Ra's al Ghul. "Incompetent fool," the older man says in a dark tone as he bears the bloody, sauce-covered scimitar. "All of you, out. I will deal with this myself." The ninjas scatter, and Ra's al Ghul throws away his cloak to reveal that he has an armored vest, pants, and boots underneath. A pity that one can only depend on a mercenary. I will need to increase my training of them. In the background, Deathstroke's and Patience's fight has escalated into a two-person war. Literal magic is being used on both sides as Slade reveals enormous skill in teleportation, pyrokinesis, and just kinesis in general, as Patience shows that she can easily match the teleportation, knows her way around throwing lightning, and can cause the ground to quake with every move she makes. "Now then, let us begin," Raz states before suddenly charging them both. Megala's swords are outright shattered against his scimitar in a single swipe, and the round kick to the side sends her sprawling as Echosong opens up with a sonic scream. He dodges the scream and lands some feet away, skidding from the sheer speed of the movement. "All this effort and you still haven't fully uncovered the plan. I expected more of someone taking up the detective's mantle. Perhaps his faith in you is misplaced?